Hi guys, it's 5:15. It's very dark here in the north of England. I'm going to keep this very brief so I can go straight into the video, but I have to say something quite important. These vulnerable people that walk around the city committing slow suicide that I refer to generically as crackheads. About 4 years ago, there was a massive Islamist terror attack at the Manchester Arena concert. There's a young lady called Ariana Grande, and 22 people, some of them young kids, died in that thing. Now, one of these crackheads, he was initially hailed as a hero for calling an ambulance, doing whatever he was doing, great. Until all the footage came out of him, I think his name was Chris. He went around and he pickpocketed all the dismembered bodies, the disemboweled bodies. He went into their pockets, into their purses, took their money, phones, credit cards, and he desecrated a very horrific sight. So he's in jail. I don't think he's going to be walking around Manchester openly once he's released, because some things are so horrific, they outrage public decency so much that, you know, the person is out of the game. So I've got friends in central Manchester that, you know, I speak to, and they report to me things which are happening that are interesting. Now, this has not been reported yet in the press, in the Manchester Evening News. But 2 days ago, a black gentleman, a homeless, vulnerable drinker or drug taker gentleman, died in the city centre, just under the covered section of Market Street. And he'd been involved in a fight earlier that day, and he may or may not have suffered a head injury. Now, some people are in jail for fighting with him, and there have been subsequent crackhead arrests today because they saw it on video. One of the crackheads went through the dead man's pockets and stole whatever little possessions the deceased man had. Now, this is the city centre we're dealing with. Don't be fooled, ladies and gentlemen, that these are like, you know, your starving poor people on the streets of Bombay or Manila or Lagos, or, you know, starving people in Ethiopia in the 1980s. That's what they want you to think. The fact is, in this country, the government will help you. The government has a legal duty to house you if you have mental health problems. That night, the subsequent night, and every night, they have a duty to feed you. There are charities literally going around left, right, and centre every night in the city centre, helping them, clothing them, shaving them, haircutting them, feeding them, helping them, trying to get them to change, to see that a slow, grotesque suicide is not the way an individual should be. And I think I'm one of the few people that don't patronize the crazies, the crackheads in the city centre, because I include them. I judge them as fellow human beings, and the most important thing is I judge them by my standards, not like, oh, poor little scum on the street, let's ignore them and let them destroy themselves. No, wouldn't let my son do it, shouldn't let these crackheads do it. That's all I want to say. Hello everyone. Do you remember a few years ago a company called Atos, a private company hired by the Conservative government, were having meetings with everyone that was on the disability benefit, personal independence payment? And do you remember 5 years ago, 7 years ago, the horrific stories of long-term disabled people being wheeled into these consultation centers, and because they're able to, I don't know, blink or scratch their eyebrow, some bureaucratic beetle then puts down on the form, Mr. Smith, he can move his left hand. Get that man in an office working. Why should he be able to sit at home, disabled, suffering, when he should be in a work cubicle like all the other wages? Now, ladies and gentlemen, now that we're in 2020, how evil and ridiculous, now that there are no jobs, was all that 5 years ago? And whilst I've got my tinfoil hat on, if this turning of the ages, if 2012 marked a massive transition and this is all planned and they've had patents for COVID tests and coronavirus, COVID-19 itself is a bioengineered North Carolina SARS hybrid, then the people who cause all this suffering, that treat humanity as just material, as just cattle to be moved around, and these people will eventually have to pay. And just to be a bit dramatic about it, it'll have to be in this life or some other life. You know, this kind of behavior, treating the masses as sheep to be gulagged, doesn't sit well with your angry, free-thinking man or woman. There's a reason why I don't find horror movies scary anymore. Since I became 16, they're just not scary in any way, because real life, your daily psychological struggle, I mean, I'll tell you the real horror. The real horror is the monsters of the self, the deep abyss of your own consciousness. I mean, you want to find some real monsters? That's where the real monsters are. Now, anyway, I'm looking up ahead. The Crackhead infestation continues, so we're going to go do something else. Here, madam, what are these people doing? There's a lady at the tram stop complaining. Oh, there's the orc from yesterday. What are they doing? Oh, geez, there's
somebody to temptation from us.
The scumbags are throwing things. Yeah, we'll get a bit closer, have a look. Corner of Piccadilly Gardens and Tib Street. Operation Perseus continues. Hi, I'm Charlie Veitch. Hello. Thanks for saying hello. Thank you. And hey, my friend, how are you? You okay? Guys, we've just missed the egging incident. There's a police down there looking for the hatchery. In fact, that's the lady that photobombed my video. Nice officer. Anyway, so from a distance, as I came running in, there was some people having an egg war against some other people, and then you join the camera as I'm interacting with the lady at the tram stop, complaining about the things being thrown. Now, there you go, guys. Never a dull moment. Good morning. It's Thursday, 26th of November. We're here at the soon-to-be demolished concrete Pripyat Chernobyl that is Piccadilly Gardens. In the background, they've demolished the section of the Berlin Wall that said the North is not a petri dish, and in the foreground you have the endless trials and tribulations of the Piccadilly Gardens fountain, currently being renovated for the 18th time since I moved to Manchester 9 years ago. And in a way, what these poor gentlemen are doing, I'm sure they're getting paid very handsomely for what they're doing, but they're rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, because very soon they may return this area to some traditional beauty. Because I'll tell you why concrete brutalism doesn't work in the UK. It's because we have very wet, very moist winters, so all the concrete gets stained, gets full of water, gets ugly from all the water pulling the salts out and all the other minerals. So you got a super wet winter mixed with a very long daylight hour summer. So then you got your super moist turning into super mossy, super algae, super green, messy bullshit. So I think the Barbican Centre in London is a bit of brutalism that is very highly maintained, because each apartment in there costs like £1 million. So the maintenance is good, but for everything else, like council buildings, council fountains, it doesn't work. I'll give you an example of, you won't see this in Spain or Portugal or a dry, hot country, but that's the standard of your modern art, your modern architecture in the UK, just a mess. Hey, another day, another dollar. Hey guys, the development here at Piccadilly Gardens, there you go, there's your context, there's your pigeons, is a constant police presence because there's just angry people everywhere. He's very angry, calling me all sorts of names. He has informed the two officers he's gonna smash my phone on the ground. God damn it. He doesn't deserve the airtime. He's the thumbnail and he had a good minute in the last video. That's enough. Cut! The vast majority of people will literally do anything than having to face themselves face to face. Not just physically in a mirror, but actually come to terms with what they are, why they're conscious, what it all means, what it means for meaning, what it means for scale, time, space-time, longevity. Most people choose not to waste their time with such matters, but for some of us who maybe have too much cognitive bandwidth, it's a daily curse. Now, cut. As I was saying on Piccadilly Gardens, and a lot of police came, "Oh, Charlie, you've just missed the action." And then another one asks me, "Do you have a police scanner?" I was like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, you're always in the right place at the right time." I said, "No, you just don't see. For every hour of amazing wow, you don't see the 100 hours of walking around doing nothing." So, as I was saying in Market Street, one thing deeper than Lovecraftian horror, or cosmic horror, which renders all horror movies now suddenly a bit, you know, clowny. Like when you watch It Chapter 1 or It Chapter 2. I mean, it's nice 80s nostalgia, or, you know, upgraded modern day stuff, but let's stop. There is no horror like the infinite dark abyss of your own self. We're just around the back of Swinton Police Station. Got me thinking about a little event this morning. Walking along Market Street with my very fetching paramedic vest, and bump into the Chief Inspector with his red lapels and his two pips. And he's like, "Oh, Charlie, blah, blah, blah." And the officer that he was with, very friendly as well. You know, it is nice. It's not nice to be hated. And the irony is, in my adventures now, I'm protected by the police for doing legal activities, and it's the general public, or certain aspects of the general public, that attack me. So the inspector goes, "Oh, Charlie, were you filming at the Nightingale Hospital the other day?" I said, "Yes." He goes, what were you doing that for?" And I said, "Well, just like the security, you know, like, I like to interact, so I was asking them, when's the security handover, when's there the least security?" And he chuckled, and he's like, "Charlie, but they phoned us, we had to attend." And I said, "Well, what happened?" And he goes, "Well, the officers saw it was you and they disengaged." I'm almost offended. Hello everyone. Gets dark awfully early, doesn't it, in the north of England? It's like, what, 5 p.m? 10 past 5 p.m? Just a few updates. I don't like to speak for too long in the car because not as many of you watch, and for good reason. You want the action. So, I get a text message from the police again today. Mr. Veitch, the suspect, the taxi driver, was today interviewed by the police, and a file has been presented to the Crown Prosecution Service to see if he'll face the music. Now, you know, so much happens in my life. There's so much stuff happening that the chapter of the taxi driver, that chapter has been well and truly read, understood, closed, and passed aside. So, for what it's worth, to angry taxi driver, I forgive you, man. I do forgive you. But it looks like you may have to face the music, because if any of myself or my viewers acted the way you acted, whew, handcuffs would be straight on, you'd be facing hate crimes, endangerment of a child, you know, who the hell attacks a man with a baby? Anyway, that is over. I've just been in the city. It doesn't look like much now in a Tesco bag, but in this bag is a GoPro 7 and all these straps to attach to your chest. And couldn't have happened at a better time. About 1 in every 7 comments in the video yesterday is, Charlie, you need a chest-strapped GoPro. So I'm going to take a few days to obviously understand it, get used to it, learn about the straps. I mean, my bondage days are back at university, so I've not tied Velcro straps around anyone's body for a while. So we're going to have a bit of fun with that. Now, the next bit, we'll cut for now. So there was an amazing comment yesterday. There was like a gentleman, he commented. He said, oh, it feels like with this video, the Kevlar one, that we're watching the first episode of a new season. And I felt very nice reading that comment, and I guess it's true. There was previous Isaac'd up no body armor videos where your confidence is so-so, you know, especially when you're out with a baby, you don't know. But now, it's not so much. Oh, I hope I never ever need to test the vests. I hope nothing ever strikes my torso where I go, whoo, thank God I was wearing Kevlar. But just having that protection, you know, each of my testicles is increased by 17%. And my voice is about 1 octave deeper just from the Kevlar. Now that's nice. It's a defensive thing. It's self-defense. It's not offensive. It's not violent. It's literally a little shield that I wear over my main organs. Now, of course, everyone's like, oh, but you're going to get stabbed in the neck. You're going to get stabbed in the face. They're going to whatever. And it's like, look, you can't be, I mean, unless you go out as Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, Stark, is it? Unless you're Stark, you're not that well covered. I mean, look, if we go to Afghanistan or Iraq, let's look at, say, the biggest tanks on Earth. You've got your Panzer in Germany. You've got your Challenger 2 here in the UK. You got your M1A3 now? Is that what they're on? The Abrams tank? You got some big-ass tanks. Now, what did the Iraqi insurgency do? They said, yeah, nothing can take out that tank. We just need to go bigger. So they would strap, say, 10 large artillery shells together, wire them up. Now, that's hundreds of kilos of high explosive, plus the shrapnel. And when the tank drives over it, boom. There's not a tank on Earth. You could build a tank the size of a blue whale. And what would they do? They'd use tactical battlefield nukes to take them out. So you can never be fully protected. But just having my heart, my lungs, my abdomen, my liver, my kidneys protected, that is at least something. Anyway, that's your update. Hope you enjoyed today's video.